here we have the full gasket set. Come from Germany, so this is why it took so long to get here. Stuck in customs, had to pay 46 quid to release it. Always worth noting if you're buying from Tuned GmbH, they're on eBay. So the cheapest ones on there, free postage. Didn't look where they were coming from, so the proper Athenia set. Just Athenia, isn't it? Athena. So we can get on with it. Black and gold, super slingy for my work colleague. Here it is. The first thing I'm going to do is get the head back together, just at a glance. The bit I want is on top here. So there's the valve stem seals. As simple as pop off, pop one on. Obviously all the valves are still out there, been knocked over. And two, the bent one has got a place on the Wall of Fame, or make a handy tool out of it. So here's the head all nice and cleaned up. Shouldn't flip heads. You can see the valve stems are black, the stem seals, little black bits. So we're going to work on popping them out and popping the new ones in. Right, I'm going to show you this. Just hang on. Right, this. I literally saw this video on TikTok earlier, trying this out with the valve, with the collets, with the valve springs. Basically, this is what we're putting back in, just rebuilding the head. And what they do when they get the valve in, spring in, and they put the collets in the little carrier ready. Give this a fair go. So, looks like this one. Put the valve in. Tap the deep blind. Do that out just so I can get it all right. Put the spring over gently. Make sure it's seated nicely. And what I do, I'm going to zoom it in, I'll bring the camera in a bit. There we go. So it's not actually seated like these ones are. They're just wobbling about. And they put the plastic on top there. And then compress it, which is going to be fun to do with the phone in the way. Rags in the way underneath, there we go. I'll give it a little wiggle, move it off gently. And well, funny, that's the downside. Either than pissing about getting little collets in their place, but I don't know if they sat properly or not. Like that one, I didn't. Hang on, you can't see it, can you? That one I did the old-fashioned way, tweaked them in. And that one, suppose it's a plastic. You want some of these bloody jumping out when they're bouncing up and down at 400 times a second, 800 times a second, no, 400 times a second, plus 500 times a second. Look. Yeah, they're pretty secure, fair play. Yeah, I reckon that little method works. And yeah, while we're in here, like, when these cams are in here, I think that's an exhaust cam. You can tell the cams because they've got an N. That one's got an exhaust. See, this is the N now. So when these badges are in here, they'll be spinning at 400 to 500 times a second. Each one of these is going around, pressing the valve down. So the cam load pushes that. It's like a carrier follower. These are quite nice because they're adjustable on these little nuts and threads there, so you can do your valve clearances really easy without having to do shims and moving buckets and taking measurements. They're really nice and easy. You can just slacken them off, tweak it a tiny bit, tighten it back up, double check. But when these are spinning, like that valve is compressing 4, 5, 6, depending on how much your engine revs, hundreds of times a second, and it's closing and creating a seal and then opening to let the gas in and then closing to create a seal hundreds of times a second. I mean, that's they're pretty insane when you really start to think about them, and the pressure these things are going in through, it's really impressive. And when it does get too much, so like really high lift cams, or if you're pushing high boost, I think as well, big torque engines, you start to think of valve float when the valve can't shut quick enough, so it isn't, bend the cams out, so when it's dropping off the cam on this part here, the spring isn't like following what this is doing. The spring's still over here somewhere, it's still open, and it's not shutting quick enough because it's spinning that fast that the spring is not closing. So you get valve float, so you'll have to get upgrade springs, which we haven't done in this because I don't think we're going to be quite up there, but yeah, let's carry on. Alright guys, there we have it. We've got new valve stem seals and replaced all the valves and valve springs, collets. I was well impressed at the little piece of plastic trick. Once you seem to get a bit of a knack for like giving it a wiggle as it's coming up, and everyone dropped in perfect. One didn't, to be fair. One collet decided it was just going to stick to the plastic, but soon pulled it out and wiggled it in with a screwdriver. Started to rush a bit towards the end, which is never good, but I'm just a bit conscious that it's coming up the baby's bath time. So there we go, ready to be refitted and have the valve clearances done. Job's a good one. I was only meant to come out to give the boost a start to try the launch control, show you guys how cool it was. And hour and a half later, be alright though. Better get in. Dry.